in my case, the best tool to learn IFC is BlenderBIM.
Oh, I was thinking, what craziness are you going to say there?
Hey friends, welcome back to a new edition of BIMvoice. Today I have the pleasure to talk to Oscar Jacobsen. Hi Oscar, thank you for joining me.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, let's hit the road with telling us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. My name is Oscar Jacobsen. I'm a consultant at Norconsult, which is one of the largest Nordic consultant engineering firms. And I have a background in electrical power engineering and energy and environment. And typically I sit at Samferdsel projects, so large infrastructure projects. And I have been bitten by the digital bacille, I would say. So I do a lot of coding and stuff, and then you quickly land over into the BIM environment.
So what exactly do you do in projects? Like, do you work in only one project or in more projects at the same time?
When you are somewhat digital, you become somewhat a resource between several projects. But most of my time I use as a BIM coordinator or digital lead at the E18 West Corridor, which is a total enterprise project with Norconsult and Skanska, which is the entrepreneur.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a quite large and difficult project. So we need to talk together and work together to get that ashore.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Who is the client? How rigid are the requirements when it comes to BIM on this project?
I would say the top client is the Norwegian Road Administration. And in this project, I would say that the requirements are somewhat round. So they are aiming for something, but I don't think they have put so strict handcuffs on us and in how we reached the goals. Yeah. So, but for instance, in the contract, they have put requirements on this to be a VDC project. So we need to have people who are certified and show that we are doing and using the tools in VDC.
Oh, okay. Can you dive a bit deeper into that? Like, what would that like some more in more general terms for this to be easier to understand by more people?
Yeah, of course. The Virtual Design and Construction, which is VDC by Stanford and NTNU in Norway, are defining somewhat a framework for how you should go through projects. At the top, you need to define what are the client's goal, what do they want to achieve, and then you need to make that what are then the project goals so that the client will reach their goals. And then you use ICE, Integrated Concurrent Engineering, which is basically you should get the people who need to decide something together to do it together instead of doing it in their own separate offices. And then when you meet, you need to change everything. And also BIM is one of the pillars in this model in order to what do they say in VDC? They also want to implement the word VIA, visualization, information, and automation, instead of the word BIM, perhaps, which could be somewhat more explanatory. And also the last part is PPM, project planning. So you need to do, put this in a system in response to time.
Are there any requirements when it comes to OpenBIM, or you can just design and build the project just using any other tools, or are there more specific requirements when it comes to deliverables?
I would say the only OpenBIM requirement is that our BIM models need to be delivered in an open format, which is also round because we can choose an open format.
Can you give me some examples of what are you using, if it's possible?
Yeah, sure. Typically in our project, we every discipline sits in their own tools, but we are forcing each discipline to put their models out in a IFC. so that are a common data environment in case of BIM and models are hosted in Trimble Connect, but we use IFC models and upload those to Trimble Connect.
Okay.
Another open file format which the Norwegian Road Administration is working on is, for instance, GML, which we could maybe someday need to deliver, but there are no requirements for that in our project.
Are these IFC models used only for design, or is the general contractor using the models as base for building everything?
Absolutely. So the whole project is model based. We try to have as less 2D drawings as possible. So we put everything in a 3D model, everything in IFC, which includes volumes, and also the contractor is interested in points and lines typically. So we put those in the same IFC, and I latest today got a message that the contractor now wants everything in one model, because the tool that they use now support very nicely to import the IFC with both volumes and lines and points. So now they do not want separate files for that. So we put everything in the IFC if possible.
That sounds very good.
Yeah, it's very nice. And also in this common data environment, we are there are need for detailed drawings still. So we try to put those in the 3D model. So typically, if you have a cross section and you want to detail out a drawing in that cross section, we maybe draw that cross section in a 2D detailed drawing, but we put it in the 3D space at the angle, at the location, such that when you go into the 3D model and you take a snipping plane, you will see it.
Ah, right there. Okay. But you don't include this in IFC. You put this in Trimble Connect, right? You just place it in Trimble Connect in the right place.
Yeah, typically, if we have the tools that will put this in the EFC file format, then we do that. But if we don't have those tools, then we typically put them in standard DVG or CRB or something.
Yeah, I see. I assume, since that's what mostly we use, you are delivering an IFC to X3, right? Still not 4.
It's also different from what tools are being used, but typically we don't put any requirements above 2x3, which has its disadvantages, I would say, because in the IFC4 schema you have a lot more object types, IFC types to sort by. Typically, some of our models are just a bunch of IFC building element proxies, and then we use property sets and put identifications there, such that you can sort on those.
Yeah, you mentioned that something very important. Yeah, the more classifications in IFC4, that's one. I would say, although it's very important, there are other things that I love even more. And I'm talking about georeferencing, because you can include it and have it very, very nice. And the quantities I like are really good. You don't need to create any property sets to put the quantities, right? Because they come in like in QSet, and you get all the relevant quantities. It's fine. I'm sure IFC4 will never become what it was thought to become in the beginning. But we are just around the corner for IFC4 3 to become official, an ISO standard, which I think it has been submitted for, and usually it takes a few months. So the next year, in the beginning of the next year, we should have this. And I think there will be many changes when it comes to the certification process by Building Smart, and there will be many tools supporting IFC 4.3, 4x3, and this will be much easier. And especially for us, for infrastructure, is going to be a huge advantage, because we'll have also more detailed things, except tunnels for now. But yeah, bridges are cool, roads and everything. So I'm really, really excited about that. 2024 is going to be a nice transition year, but I expect like for 2025 for IC4X3 to really take on. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I hope so, but I'm still not convinced that all of the available BIM software will be fast enough to implement it, which is also why we typically in our projects don't have such strict requirements on the IFC element types. More on that, just put out somewhat something in the child of an IFC element, and then we put on IFC property sets. And one example is Bane NOR, which is the Norwegian large railway operator or owner. They are working on their BIM requirements, and they are really leaning onto the IFC 4.3, such that they are specifying IFC types, and also this is a requirement in some of their projects now, which we are also fighting on. But none of our softwares are able to do this out of the box, which is
Quadri, I think. I don't know if you use Quadri at all, but Quadri
yeah.
already has support for IFC 4X3, and it might feel a bit too ambitious, the goal Bane NOR has, but it's the right way to go. And like I said, right now, until IFC 4X3 becomes really official ISO, software providers can still hide behind this excuse. After that, they will not be able to do that anymore. They will have to choose if they will be competitive like their competitors, or you will just have to rely on the tools that are offering that. And it's I'm very impressed, and I really salute this gesture from Trimble to see that such a big company that plays a huge role in AEC has actually gone so open and officially on this path, because they have, like, you can see everywhere their activities when it comes to IFC 4.3. I really think they really try to be the first company adopting this and so on. So it's really encouraging, because the other ones, they will lose a lot of market share if they will not provide the same functionalities, let's say, right? That's very positive. Like if you had a smaller company or something like that, or no one, then you would have been, okay, I don't know what's happening. But seeing Trimble, like that's huge, at least for me. This is how I perceive this.
Yeah, I think it's also really good that we are trying to talk the same language, because before we are using the classifications correctly, I would say, or the same classifications. We are just putting on piece sets in all varieties, and it's not equal across any projects in the business. So when we are finally getting this in IFC 4.3, for example, I think this will be very good, but it will also require more IFC knowledge from the users. So
definitely
everybody needs to learn this. In my case, the best tool to learn IFC is BlenderBIM.
Oh, I was thinking what craziness are you going to say, but thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you touched my heart with that.
I guess so.
Well,
BlenderBIM is amazing. If you want to I call it knitting, perhaps, when I try to code something, or just you go straight to the core and then you change it and it's fixed. There is no losing in that export.
Yeah, you because it's not an export, it's safe, right? Because it's I don't know how many other tools are there, but it's native IFC, right? It emulates IFC schema, so it cannot go wrong. That's what we closer in the circle of BlenderBIM we like to say, that it's the native IFC tool. And yeah, like that's exactly, like, you don't need more than that. To be honest, if you just mess around in BlenderBIM, you will learn how IFC schema works, because all the things are according to it. Like, you don't need to think how I would map that or something. No, it's exactly how it should be, right? And you see what the possibilities are. You think, oh, okay, so actually I can use this piece set, which is exactly like the default piece set for a wall. I don't need to have my custom piece set to put those things, right? And especially with IFC 4X3, which, by the way, is not fully supported yet by BlenderBIM. We still hope to and try to gather more money for that, so that Thomas can develop the full compatibility. But I think that will happen eventually in the next year. So yeah, indeed, it's an amazing match. And let me tell you something else. If you were not playing already yet with IDS, like combining IDS with BlenderBIM, that really accelerated a lot my understanding of IFC schema. Because you need to understand also how other tools are thinking, because they use different terms and so on. And not only that, like IDS really forced me to go deeper into the IFC schema, because yeah, I thought that I understand some things, but when you see, okay, you don't have the data types of the text you have there, right? So okay, I did not even have any idea what is that a data type, right? But yeah, you can have it a label, you can have it a text. There are different kind of data, right? Exactly because of the IDS, I could dive deeper and understand these things. And actually, I found this an amazing, like it has been few amazing months where best possible match here, because yeah, you see right in action everything. And if you want to go one step further, you go IFC OpenShell. I don't know if you got that path already and you started to use it with Python scripts and so on, but
yeah, I am writing IFC OpenShell and Python every day, so that's no worries. I think also that's my first encounter with the BlenderBIM was 1.5, 2 years ago. Was somewhat new in the industry, and my mentor had received the IFC file from an architect from another software, and they tried to import that to Revit, and it took an hour, it took 2 hours, it took 10 hours, and the next morning it was not finished. And then I Googled a little around and I found this BlenderBIM, downloaded it, extension, imported the IFC, 1, 2, 3, there we go. So it was really amazing. And I ran into my mentor and said, what is Revit struggling about? This went so fast. And he was, oh, okay, but you cannot edit an IFC in any program. And I just took hold of a wall and pulled it at the side. And he was like, oh, but you cannot export that into the IFC again. You could. So it's an open data environment, and tools to edit this environment is Alfa Romeo when it comes to data flow in a project, I would say.
Yeah, I really hope, like, I'm very happy to see that you actually discovered this. Keep promoting it, sharing with your colleagues, and convince others to test it. And now, especially, I don't know if you tried at all to use IDS.
Yep, tried it a couple of days ago. 1 year ago, we did a proof of concept. Some people in the industry where we uploaded National Road Database to BSDD. So we have had that up there for a good while and been testing it and releasing the word on that one. And I, of course, had to try to link that or test that out in an IFC file, which I also made with IFC OpenShell. Thing I did a week ago was to test the IDS. Which is really cool. And for all building owners and people who are receiving IFC files, I shouldn't say this, but you should check out IDS because you can check what you get from me.
Let me tell you something else. Actually, the BIM modelers actually can improve a lot their work. Like if they would see, like if they are other stakeholder, which really needs to use IDS, because they will get like the quality on their IFC exports is going to improve. You go through the roof.
Yep.
Because like you see it right there and there if you have any things that you overlooked, and like everyone will benefit from this. Maybe you as a consultant, you don't like it because you will lose the chance to build more hours. So no, but I think it brings a lot of value, because actually then you can use more time on the design and come with better solutions and so on, right? And nobody needs to stress with things that is not so fun. Why is so fun to have so many back and forth issues, right?
Nope.
BCF still has a lot of value, and it will have always its value in there. IDS doesn't aim to replace it, but you can save so much time. You can avoid so many useless, unnecessary communications just by using IDS. So definitely, I don't know, what tool did you use to create your IDS? If you can share
I
that.
created it from Python, from scratch.
Using IFC tester?
Yeah, from scratch. I took
just Python?
Yeah, just Python. So I looked at an example, and then I made something and tested it in BlenderBIM, which is quite recent with their IDS support, I would say. Something worked, something didn't yet. So I guess that will be, or when I took the same IDS and used it in US BIM, for
Yeah.
instance, that one would sort on an attribute only, which but when I tested the IDS in BlenderBIM per now, if you haven't specified the exact IFC element subtype, it wouldn't recognize it.
I'm not sure I understand. So you mean if you use an attribute in applicability, or?
Yeah, when you are trying to identify what objects or elements in the IFC that this should be applicable to, you can do it by several means. For instance, you can sort on the attribute name.
Yeah.
And this worked to only use that one in USBIM per today, but to try to get BlenderBIM to do the same wouldn't. But if I also explicitly said that these are IFC building element proxies, then it would find it.
Okay. But that might be a bug. But I'm not sure, like, if this is not the same situation as with the hierarchy. Because, for example, you cannot use IFC building element to check all the elements in your model. This is not supported in IDS. I will talk to Dion about this. I'll ask him if this is actually an error or a bug in BlenderBIM. What is actually AKA USBIM doing something that is not supposed to, just inside their platform? That's an interesting thing. But
and that's also one of the bigger that's maybe one of the bigger problems with open source, open world, which evolves for every day, because you are not sure what is correct. And also a few years ago, if you delivered an IFC model to someone and they opened it in one program, they saw something, and then somebody opened it in another program and they saw something else,
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, but I will not let you escape with that one, because it's a problem. Like you say, everyone can come and contribute and so on. But at the same time, is also there are more eyes on things and easier to spot problems, right? But what happens if a software does that and you don't even have any idea about it, because you don't know what it does behind the code, right? At least here, you can check the code yourself if you are capable, if you understand, right? It's something that it's a choice, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so, but also especially in representing annotations or volumes or 2D symbols, the models or the viewers should show the same. If not, if we are designing something, we look at the file, this is okay, we give it to the contractor, they look at the file, okay, this is what we're going to build. And if those things don't match, we have a problem.
Yeah, but you know why, right? Most IFC viewers don't support annotations.
Yeah, I know.
That's the problem. But I hope that is going to be erased and completely resetted once IFC4 X3 it's released. I don't think anyone will going to change that for IFC2 X3, to be honest. But I think they cannot go around that in IFC4 X3, because it's such an important feature. Because if you replace, like in Norway and hopefully everywhere else in a while, if you want to supplement your models with the right information for use on site and for the client afterwards, then you need these annotations, right? And it's a pain that you need to have them right now as building element proxies or something like that, instead of using annotations. But I'm not sure. I could be wrong here, but I think that annotations might have been removed from IFC 4.3. I'm not sure. Or is it meant that there will be something else that is supposed to be used for that? Something along these lines. I'm not sure. So, but something is happening. Either it's called something else. There needs to be something in IFC schema that supports this, and that needs to be supported by everyone, of course. Like they will not escape again from this.
One example could be in IFC4 schema, you have parametric geometry, for example. And if this shows up in some viewers, but some viewers don't show it at all, then you can be sure that the tubes for the electrical system will not be put in the ground. So
exactly. So that's another issue, right? There are not many actually IFC viewers like Solibri or BIM Collab or others that support IFC4 4 just by default, as you can see it in BlenderBIM, right? Because the same with annotations, right? Ideally, actually, I posted a while ago about this, and I need to go back and see if somebody answered to that. I had 3 questions there, and I said that who answers correct to these 3 questions get access to our IDS course. But I did not check if somebody answered correctly yet. I'll have a look these days because yeah, you don't need it, of course, because you are already too expert for this. But we in partnership with Menomakers, who is an expert in IDS, we launched the course, BIMvoice first course. So yeah, that's good for beginners to start with. And yeah, we use BlenderBIM in that one with USBIM from Aka.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to BSDD. For some time ago, you created, I think, the first BSDD for Norwegian, for like coming from Norway, right? For Statens vegvesen.
I think so. I think maybe another group in Statens vegvesen have tried it bare minimum, but they haven't published a domain in that case.
Okay, what is your experience with this, and why is this important? How could this help us?
The reason, or my drive to do it, I think, is because in all of the projects in Norway, typically you have this large Excel data sheet big enough to cover a football field with the properties, and you can, and the Excel sheet is typically not linked to our BIM models either. So we have this large Excel sheet, which everybody manually need to go in and check and fill out. And then they need to go into their own software to make sure that the property PSET in the IFC export is good to go there. And if it's if that's for first, it's a very energy consuming task. And when there is changes to that Excel sheet, it is not automatically in the BIM software. And also for this national road database, they are publishing their definitions via a REST API at the JSON format, which they could say that it's freely available for everyone. If you have a BIM software, you can just hook onto it and get the information from there. But the reason why I think that a service like BSDD, it doesn't need to be the BSDD, but an open, free service for publishing these definitions is important, is because the BIM, the software developers, if they want to use resources in integrating something, they would much rather use their resources to integrate to one open international hub than to integrate at the API for each requirement giver.
That makes perfect sense. And there is no doubt that this is going to take off. Like BSDD is going to become important. And by the way, we are talking about challenges with getting more people to understand IFC schema, which is a beast. It's not so easy, but BSDD that will do just that. Will help exactly on that front, right? Because it will make things more accessible, and you will actually, maybe it will help you so you don't need to become an IFC schema expert to use it, right? Because you can even find a BSDD for IFC schema itself.
Yep.
So I think this should make things much easier in the future.
Yeah, I think so also. And for humans to go into the BSDD and search for definitions, it's very human readable. And also when we put out the NVDB in the BSDD, it didn't show the allowed values for some properties. So I just sent an email to Arthur, which everybody in BSDD community knows who is, and it was fixed in a few hours. It feels to me that they are really eager to get the BSDD up and running for people in the business.
Yeah, well, that's the reason Arthur is leading these efforts. So I don't have any doubt about that. They are making real progress, and I'm very, very excited about this. But by the way, BlenderBIM, BSDD, did you try BSDD in BlenderBIM? Did you see the BSDD integration in BlenderBIM?
Yeah, I tried it barely when I was playing around with this a year ago. I tried to do my own module in Blender, but not linked to the BlenderBIM, but when the BSDD is linked in BlenderBIM, which is putting it in the IFC files also, that's, yeah, it's the way to go, I think.
Yeah, it's still a very first iteration of it.
Yeah.
But it is crazy. I need to tell this, that because this is a crazy story. Actually, that integration was built by Dion like 2 days before I presented at the Building Smart Summit here in Lillestrøm in Norway. And that's the reason, because he said, okay, look, what we need to do. We need to do that and that and that. And you cannot do it. Like, I cannot show up to that challenge without doing that. So, okay, you know what? Let's do it. I'll do this. And he's crazy. He's crazy passion. You understand what's happening here. And by the way, in the future, you can contribute to this integration instead of making your own. Help making it better, right? Because I don't know, like there are still things that need to be fixed. I'm sure that not many, very, very many people are interested in this, but if he sees more interest from more people, then he can fix things. And by the way, if you try it and you spot any problems, just open an issue on GitHub and tag me in. I'll try to put some extra pressure.
Yeah, I haven't tagged you, but I've already been in there with the ideas.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. But actually, that could be a good idea if you get the chance to just define what you believe to be an issue when it comes to ideas on GitHub, because yeah, I think that could be easily fixed, because not only Dion, it's also Andre, who is the full-time developer actually right now on IFC OpenShell. Has contributed to fix many issues regarding ideas. So he got quite good at understanding how ideas works and so on. So yeah, please do that if you manage. It would be really cool. And by the way, you said Python, right? You created your ideas with Python. You can still create your ideas with Python, but you can use actually something called IFC Tester, which is a library in IFC OpenShell that is the thing that runs the ideas when you run it from the interface in BlenderBIM, right? So you can also use it to create an ideas automatically. I did that with Dion. I still have a script somewhere. I prefer to use USBIM. Yeah, it's quite easier, but you can do it. Like if you like text editor or Python or then definitely you can use that. You can give it a try and see, because it's the same tool like that. It runs the ideas, and of course you can also run it, right? You don't need to run BlenderBIM. You can just import it and run it from your script, and that's the beautiful part. That's where we want to get, right? You want to get there where next day you come to work, you get all the reports like, this is what we found, right? From the ideas checks, and then you fix it, and then you do it one more time, and then you go on and you deliver top-notch IFC files. Yeah,
and that's also the Python and scripting. That's one of the reasons why I use Blender, because you have integrated Python compiler and everything there. So that the BlenderBIM, I think, is very good, but it's maybe in some cases with our large infrastructure projects, it's maybe missing something, but then I can just tweak it with my own scripts in Blender. So
just in Blender.
Just using that. I think that's, if I were to start a project now and just say that I'm only going to use BlenderBIM, I think it might be not reach the mark.
No, you need to split it. You will not, like, it's far from being like, and I don't think that is going to be a priority. First is the focus, like, to help more, like what you're talking about. You talk about big project, which here then you need to have a strategy in place how to split it, to tackle that. At some point maybe we'll get to see that fixed also, but for now I think the focus is to get as many people as using it to use BlenderBIM, and that's happening mostly with entrepreneurs, with people, with consultants who have small companies, and they don't really work on big projects, right? So that's why the focus is there. Get as many people as possible. At least this is what I believe, but I do hope to see some improvements for larger models also at some point. But we need other steps before that. We need other functionalities and so on. So but it's cool to hear that you use Blender actually. That's impressive, because you did not say Autodesk InfraWorks or Navisworks. So So that's cool to hear.
Yeah, and it's amazing if you use something like Blender, which is typically used to make animation movies, then you can make some very good visual representations of BIM also. So it's yeah, 4D simulations, just use BlenderBIM.
Mhm. Do you use ChatGPT at all?
No, very little.
Really? At all?
Yeah.
At all? At all? Ah, okay. Come on. For your code, it can help you.
Can it?
I don't
Some
know.
of the code that I see from ChatGPT, we have some people around here who use it very much because they cannot code from before. It's what we have a guy over here, Inge Handagar, said one time that if the danger on making and running scripts from ChatGPT is that if you want to make a script which copies all the files from your project folder to a new folder and then deletes the old files, it's very not so good if it doesn't do the first thing, but it does the second thing. And if you are just running scripts directly from ChatGPT, that's, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen.
It's difficult to use it if you don't understand what you know. It can help you. It can help you to do things that you cannot know. But of course, you need to have in like in the rear mirror that you you might overlook some important things if you don't have experience, of course. Inge, yeah, say hello to Inge. By the way, he worked in AF before, so. And I met him this year in the tunnel for a brief meeting. So yeah, is there anything else? Like I feel we could talk like for days. Like I'm always like this with people who are open, as passionate as me as about OpenBIM. But we covered some things. Is there anything important that you would like to mention before we wrap it up?
No, I think we have been talking about a lot of things. Last pitch, I would say, is for if people are interested and trying to figure out if people are able to think that this might be done in another way. The open environment in BIM do have solutions now, I would say. So please look beyond Revit.
Go OpenBIM, go BlenderBIM. Yeah, amazing, Oscar. Tell us, how can people reach out to you if they want to ask you about anything you talked about?
Sure. You can send me an email at oscar.jacobsen@norconsult.com, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn or Teams or not Snapchat. I'm not using Snapchat that much, but just reach out, and I'm typically I will answer. And if it's interesting, we will have a long talk.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think most of my followers are actually using LinkedIn. I'm also mostly active on LinkedIn, so LinkedIn is the right place for OpenBIM. We can definitely say that.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Oscar. I love this, and I definitely hope to talk again together sometimes in the future.
Yeah, thanks the same. It was a pleasure, and I hope that we will have longer conversations in the near future.
Yeah, it's been a while since I done that, but we used to have these BIM beers in Oslo, so you should definitely join the next one. I don't know if you managed to do it in December, though. It was some chat about that, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, last time it was in June. So it's been a while. It's been a very busy past half year. But it's something that, we can, I'm really looking forward actually to organize again. And maybe we meet there, because there are other interesting people joining, like Artur Tomczak. And
if I get it in my site and have the time, I will surely join BIM Beer.
Awesome. I'll send you the link if I'll publish that for December. Again, I think it's a small chance for December to happen, but if not, then we try January, February sometimes.
Yeah. I'm not from Oslo. I'm from Haugesund, so I'm also home there in Christmas time. But if I'm around, I will come.
Okay. Amazing, Oscar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Petru.